Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mike Mitchell. I'm the founder of MCM Group International. We're a 35-year-old international investment and holding firm. We've developed companies in sustainable planning and design, immersive technologies, and blockchain. And we created this conference series, Building Better Worlds, to kind of examine how emerging technologies of blockchain, DeFi, and the Metaverse can be a positive force in society. As we all know, NFTs have exploded in popularity over this last decade. And obviously, many people are trying to understand how they become involved. I think artists, as most of you know, kind of brought this to the public attention, but interest in NFTs have now even expanded into the kind of investment speculation community. So today's panel of experts will discuss what each of them are doing with NFTs. They are truly experts in this area, and the various uses that their firms have developed, and whether NFTs are a passing fad or in fact are here to stay and may even become a true investment class. So we'll start by having each of the illustrious members kind of introduce themselves and their programs, and then we'll go into a discussion among us. So Elena, ladies first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elena. I'm founder and CEO at FAS FinTech Advisory Services. It's a global consulting company that works with multiple blockchain and crypto projects, helping them to grow and scale. I'm also founder and CEO at Flashback. It's an NFT ticketing platform that is taking the world and introducing tickets as digital collectibles. I have been in space from 2014, so also experienced a lot of different shifts and hypes on the market. And now, yeah, happy to talk about NFTs and dive deeper into this topic.
Thanks, Elena. Josh, you want to pick it up?
Sure. I'm Josh Katz, the founder of Yellow Heart. We are also an NFT ticketing platform. We also do NFT music and community tokens. We have been building out our platform since 2017 with an array of entertainment and artist partners, and we're continuing that process right now as NFTs finally come mainstream.
Josh, you have a very interesting background in the entertainment community. Maybe you can just expand on that just a bit.
Sure. I've been around the entertainment community for over 20 years. I built EL Media, which was the leading subscription music service for businesses in the US. Also hospitality, audio, which did audio and video and various low voltage projects for pretty much every hotel, restaurant, hospitality brand, retail brand you could think of. I've been around artist management. I've worked at BMG. I've been in the space for a long time. I've been involved back through the mid 90s to the early 2000s, releasing thousands of albums, rap albums, rock albums, worked with pretty much everyone you could think of under the sun artist-wise, and, really started Yellow Heart as a company to bring the power back to the fans and back to the artists.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's really what my mission is here, is to actually bring the power back to the people.
Excellent. Well, Eric, you're an NFT collector, so go for it.
I am. So hello, everybody. Eric Witschen. So as Michael mentioned, I am in my private life an anonymous CryptoPunk and NFT collector. Not anonymous anymore. I've doxed myself plenty of times. So I'm Defiance Works on Twitter. Also the CEO and founder of New Street. That throws people a loop how to spell that. So it's NEUSTREET. So New Street, which is a media and emerging data platform that essentially provides information and data transparency to both physical and digital collectibles.
Okay, excellent.
My background is I'm a financial technologist by background. So I worked at Bloomberg for 13 years. You know, I worked at Benzinga, and this is actually you know, my second startup in the semi-fintech space.
Well, perfect. So as I mentioned, you guys are really the experts, and I'm just kind of trying to guide the conversation a bit. For the audience, maybe one of you could pick up the issue, maybe Elena, just to kind of describe what NFTs are. So everybody's got the same kind of base understanding of what's going on here.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about NFTs, a lot of people right now imagining digital art, but NFT is a technology that is way like goes beyond just digital art. We're talking about non-fungible tokens, right? And we are talking about digital certification of some specific asset, object, contract, or whatever else we can record on the blockchain. And with our NFT technology, and I'm not actually personally surprised why NFTs became so popular with the movement of digital art, because it's also something very easier for people to understand and associate themselves with, especially like when we talk about Bored Apes, right? And how they started. When people just see like this kind of piece of art, and they see themselves in each of these virtual assets, right?
Yeah.
And now when we talk about NFTs, we can also mention real estate and different contracts that can be utilized and improved with this technology. I also recently talked to a law firm from New York that is trying also to use NFT technology to improve our contracts in a legal space. So NFT is a technology that helps us to improve the contracts, to verify specific asset using like a digital certification.
Yep, excellent. So you're a collector, Eric, which obviously I think, as Elena was saying, the original kind of public sense of NFTs, and at least from a press point of view and the mass public, they think of it in that way. And you became a collector. Maybe you kind of explain what's driving that and what's underneath all of that for you.
Yeah, so first off, I do approach it from a very similar background as Elena, considering I'm a technologist through and through. So I actually knew NFTs before they had JPEGs or anything else embedded in them, for supply chain logistics tracking. So it's like very like you know. So the fact of the matter, these are just Turing complete computers. I mean, the fact it's the ability for you to embed instructions in code or media into a blockchain that becomes immutable, and yet you can't screw with it. You know, so you can rely on those instructions you're giving it, or you can rely on that JPEG you're giving it. So, I mean, it could as easily contain a JPEG as it could contain like instructions to track a ship leaving port and then coming into another port through geolocation technology. I mean, you know, so the fact that it's got JPEGs in it or movies in it or other media is irrelevant. But that being said, from a collector's standpoint, it can have the JPEGs and media in it, and it can have all the other stuff as well, which is really where the power becomes in. So, you know, you look at these communities that are forming around profile pictures, and you think to yourself, you know, why would somebody pay $50,000 for a profile picture, right? Well, the fact of the matter is, it's not just a profile picture. That profile picture gives you access to a community that sometimes has people that are world-changingly famous embedded in those communities. It also gets you essentially, in a lot of cases, something that looks very similar to ownership of a large growing corporation or company. You know, so I think that, you know, thinking about these things as just the media that's embedded in them, I don't think anybody would tell you that they should be as valuable as they are. But that being said, I am spending my hard-earned dollars on them because I know that it's much more than just the media that's embedded in them.
Okay, excellent. Well, Josh, you've obviously taken it to become a tool in your business. Maybe you kind of help people understand that process. And
Well, you know, it really is kind of what, you know, Eric and Elena already spoke about, where you have the ability to memorialize files and to prove ownership and to have ongoing utility. So when you look at the ticketing space to start, it's an area that has had no provable ownership. It's had no authenticity. It's had rampant middlemen and fraud and counterfeiting and all of these problems that are easily solved by blockchain. Where NFTs come into play is they actually become the contract of ownership, where someone could actually prove that they own something plus have the ongoing utility and the use.
Yep.
When you move that over to the entertainment sector around audio, video, it really becomes super powerful because creators for the longest time were reliant on third parties. It started out with third-party manufacturers and distributors in the digital age. You know, 1.0 and 2.0, it started moving to digital distributors, but the content creators never had that direct line of communication. The hopes around social media were that now we could actually communicate with people directly, and that was a great step forward. But the corporations still got in the way and basically, you know, stood as middlemen between artists and fans. So now with NFTs and social media, you have the ability to really identify fan bases, grow those fan bases on your own, and now sell to them directly, and of course have a recurring royalty based off of your content. So if you look back and imagine, you know, 1979, we're sitting there and we say, oh, I want you to meet my friend Andy Warhol and buy one of his soup can pictures and give this guy $2,000 for the soup cans, the Campbell's soup cans. You say, what are you, crazy? $2,000 for some Campbell's soup cans? Well, you know, obviously we've seen how those have appreciated, yet there's major problems around authenticity, around counterfeiting, around copying. You know, you might want to talk about, you know, clicking on a JPEG or a screenshot or whatever, but, you know, at the end of the day, you do have provable authenticity on the blockchain. So it becomes super powerful for creators. And that's the space that I've been most focused on, is really bringing the power back to the artist.
excellent. So Elena, I know you've also looked at this ticketing area. I think you call it Flashback. And maybe you could kind of bring that, segue that into the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So with the Flashback, we're also we're trying to solve the problem of authenticity of each ticket, right? And we heard like so many stories when people are purchasing tickets, like fake tickets for some music festival, coming there and just unable to enter, right? It makes the whole experience is very unpleasant. We're also now facing with a lot of times that people need to line up to show all their documents at the entrance with vaccination passports, with just the ID, your ticket, and it's all in so different locations. So it makes makes people waiting for 30 minutes, 1 hour, and sometimes even hours just to get to the venue. NFT technology makes it easier. We can put all these documents on a blockchain. We can verify identity before a person actually coming to the event. We know that this ticket is authentic, and we can also see if this ticket was already used at the entrance to make sure that it cannot be passed to another person. And on top of that, we're still talking about digital art, right? And turning tickets into collectibles. And my friend, for example, she used to have a huge collection of Broadway tickets, and she went just last week for one of the shows, and she was complaining that it's just QR codes, it's boring, and there's nothing to collect anymore. And she was like, Elena, I just want to see you working with Broadway because I want to have these tickets in my collection again. And that's also a very, very important part. People want to collect, they want to store these memories, because every show, maybe it's not necessarily even a show, right? It can be a birthday party or like a gathering with friends, and it's something like so valuable that you just want to collect and recall these memories every time you look at your ticket, or like maybe a wedding invite or something like that, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you hit upon a very interesting thing, which is memory. You know, I come out of the generation where I still collect birthday cards from my grandchildren to say grandpa, you know, so I still have a stack of them. And I think the new generation is going to collect in a different way. You call, just to expand one point, you call your company Flashback. And is it because of that kind of memory connection? Is that what is driving the view?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're like talking about the flashback, we're talking about digital memories, and whenever like people are looking at tickets, they have this flashback from whatever event, show, or like a gathering they attended before.
Josh, you want to expand on that kind of thing? That's part of what you're doing. You come from an artist side of that, but.
Yeah, sure. You know, once again, you know, ticket stubs are collectible. They represent a event. Something for many people is, you know, a major event. If you think about, you know, a lot of the artists that we work with, for example, Maroon 5, you know, they're only going to tour once every 3 years.
Yeah.
So they're coming to your town once every 3 years if you're lucky. They might not even hit your town on that run. So it could be once every 10 years. And that's potentially for a lot of people, a once or twice in a lifetime opportunity. And it's very intrinsic to people's heart and soul, these live events. Then when you get into sports fans are rabid. They are rabid fans of their football, you know, baseball, NBA, you know, when you get into Europe, into, you know, those football leagues. And these actually represent not only the memorialization of the fact that you went to the event, and, you know, Eric talked briefly about profile picture. I mean, that, you know, is a flex that, you know, I was at the World Series, I was at the NBA All-Star game, I was at, you know, these things, the new type of flex, you know, but it also gives the ongoing, you know, community and utility. So now when you look at adding the NFT aspect to ticketing, it really enables you to build community. That's a major focus of what we're doing at Yellowheart right now, is we look at every artist we work with, every team we work with as its own community, and building that community. And one of the biggest missing things around live events has been the ability to find like-minded people. There's many people I speak to who talk about how they've met their best friend, their wife, their husband at a concert, at a game. But you go to these and you're kind of in and out, and you have no way of ever knowing the people that attended. Whereas with a system like Yellowheart, you're continuing to actually interact with those people post-event. And that brings tremendous value to the fans. So in a lot of ways, you know, I know this panel is about the whole investment class, but we're talking more about utility and the utility use of the blockchain technology to just make it, frankly, just a better experience for all.
Yeah.
And from an investor standpoint, the utility gives it value. I mean, truly and fundamentally, I mean, that's what I look at. I look at I don't look at, you know, what's been done in the past. I look way more about what the plans are for the future utility of the token or otherwise. You know, there are, of course, some artists that I collect that just do art, and they plan on just doing one-of-one art in the future. And those, you know, artists have, you know, beautiful work, but you know, largely my focus is on future utility of protocols and such. Yeah. And from tickets, just to add on to what Elena and Josh were saying, you know, you know, digitization of tickets isn't anything new. It's just the fact that you now have this provenance and ability to sort of, you know, the chain of custody is preserved, so that you can do things now that you couldn't do with digital tickets in the past, that are either hostage to a certain platform or otherwise. You know, so if there's an artist that, you know, you have 5 tickets, you've gone to 5 concerts or something like that, the artist could choose to incentivize that ticket holder somehow. I mean, there's all kinds of really cool things you can do sort of after the fact, you know, in the future with these things that you could just never do with either physical tickets or even the previous versions of digital tickets.
Oh, interesting. Well, you know, kind of building on that, let's go around the table again about what you think of 2022. What's the hot trend? What do you see emerging promising in NFTs as for this year? Elena, we'll just go around. Elena, Josh, then back to Eric.
I feel this year there are a lot of people that started like getting into NFTs on their like technology side, because as I mentioned before, right, we started with a hype like in the digital art space that brought like a lot of people like to blockchain, to crypto, and to start understanding NFTs. And this year I already started noticing so many companies using it for their business, whether it's a supply chain, whether it's like a legal services. And I do feel that we will have more businesses joining the space. And of course, like NFTs helps us to get rid of our middle person, to optimize all the contracts, make business more efficient, reduce time for transactions, for like even like signing some legal contract. We can buy or sell apartment like just in seconds with NFT technology. And that also gives people like more freedom, more opportunities, and more control over their assets without like going through a lot of paperwork, bureaucracy, and complicated procedures that were established by big corporations. Now, like everyone can actually have access to like better transacting and more transparent business.
Yeah, your thoughts, Josh, about
So-
2022?
Yeah, well, I think what happens this year is, if you think about it, 1 year ago, nobody knew what an NFT was.
Right.
Okay. So what's happened in the, quarter 2, 3, 4 of 21 was pretty magical, where we saw the super early days of, adoption beyond the core people that had been in this, like Eric and Elena, who had been doing this for many, many years.
Yeah.
And suddenly you had people make money. Most of them made money off of Bored Apes, and that's where it began. And then they, when those came out, they flipped them they bought them for, maybe under $1,000, flipped them for, high 5 figures, 6 figures, took that money, reinvested it into other NFTs, have made money along the way, and been extremely verbal about it around on Twitter and talking to everyone about how much money they're making and, and that's kind of what's happened thus far. So that's gotten a lot of people's heads popping up, because when you have tons of people across Twitter changing their profile pictures to pictures of apes and telling everyone how much money they're making, even though, to some people it might not even be that much, it is, something that everyone wakes up. So it's been amazing how that whole movement has brought attention to the space. So what I think happens next is other industries wake up and say, wow, Web3 is real. It will eliminate rent-seeking middlemen. It will eliminate trusted third parties, which is any type of broker. It will eliminate people who, frankly, just shouldn't have been there to begin with. And I think what we're going to see is many, many industries start to see how this Web3 technology could adapt to their industry. And we're going to have some breakout use cases this year. We're going to see some brilliant applications this year. And we're going to see the industry move past profile pictures.
Yep, excellent. Eric, your thoughts? And did you trade any of those apes?
Oh yeah, plenty of them. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things. I think consolidation is something we're going to see at some point in time, as Josh mentions very accurately. I mean, we've had people started at Bored Apes and Punks and have sort of flipped their way up the chain, and now you've got a market that's frankly spread a little bit too thin for the amount of net dollars that it has pumping into it. So I think that eventually we have a little bit of a pullback and a consolidation where some of these projects that potentially didn't have roadmaps or otherwise do suffer. I think that something that we've seen growing as in Q3, Q4 2021 is the play to earn revolution. I mean, the fact of the matter is that when you start to look at investing, collecting, gambling, and these different like sort of human behaviors, they're all very similar. right? I mean, at the end of the day, we all want the shiniest rock and we want to play high risk games. And literally fundamentally who we are as humans, that's it. So, I mean, you're going to see more of a gravitation to P to E. I think that you're going to see some regulatory, massive regulatory backlash on that, especially in the US, because a lot of the play to earn type of stuff runs afoul of securities law really quickly. So I think that that's going to be something that we'll have to keep an eye on. But offshore teams and otherwise will still continue to have success there, because ultimately it's an intersection of DeFi and gaming and NFTs and all this other stuff that sort of comes together. You know, I think that on the physical side of things, you know, how these things can sort of enable things in the physical world to be better. I don't even think we've seen that yet. You know, I think that we have to some extent, like there's a company called Origin Trail that does supply chain logistics using NFTs, but I'm more talking about companies like Artifact, so RTFKT, that just got acquired by Nike. And so they're really cool. And actually they're friends of mine too, but they're really cool because you know, they started doing NFTs to sort of be like a future release of their physical items. So they'd mint an NFT of a sneaker, and then you'd come back to their site a couple months later and you'd forge it into a physical. And so, you know, so yes, that's gamified and that's and it's novel, but at the same time, it starts to allow you to understand how you know, supply chain in the physical world and reduction of waste can be benefited. Like, you know, so Nike might not have to produce 100 million shoes every year on a guess that they're going to have 100 million supply, and then end up throwing away 10 million of them just into a ditch somewhere. So I think there are definitely some things that environmentally can actually be improved on the physical side with NFTs. And I think we'll start to see that emerging in force in 2022.
Yeah, that's, as a company, we've been involved for several decades into the issue of sustainability. And it's actually what very first attracted us to it. We think long-term, the issues of blockchain, NFTs, the Metaverse could be a transitional phase to a more sustainable world. And so for us, that's where we come from to look at it. And we think there's a lot of promise. But like you said, looking for that big breakout example that then people get on board isn't quite there yet, as Josh was saying, but it will come. Following all of your points, part of the conversation here is about the metaverse and about NFTs transferring into that. Maybe you could talk, and you mentioned play to earn games and all of this involvement that NFTs now are becoming a tool in the metaverse. Maybe Elena, you could we could kind of have a little discussion among us on this point.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when we're talking about NFTs, yeah, it's hard not to mention Metaverse, and it's also like it's a massive field that is evolving right now, and like people are going crazy buying like digital land. Just a few days ago, we were also trying to get like apartment in Ethereum towers. Like people were just like people were buying it like in seconds, and then we're like just releasing. I saw even like some people were already like putting like a price for like apartments that they purchased for like 69,000 ETH, just in case, like someone will buy it later. Yeah. So this is a massive field, and of course, I see a lot of opportunities because again, it brings like it gives a lot of engagement with the community, and like if we're talking, let's say about concerts, right? There is always a limited capacity because like venues cannot fit in unlimited number of people, but we can have it in the metaverse. We can have concerts with millions of people attending at the same time. And that's also quite amazing and exciting for everyone, for fans, for artists. Of course, right now, like we are still living in the pandemic, right? And it's not that easy to jump on a plane and fly somewhere. And it's not easier for people even outside of pandemic because some people facing with visas and the flight tickets might be unaffordable, right? If you want to just fly and see a concert of your favorite artist. With the Metaverse, you can get in like to this concert from any location in the world, just logging in and enjoying the show. So it brings people together. The same for business events, the same for different networking sessions. I'm also planning to place an office, a virtual office in the Metaverse for my consulting company, so more people can come and just chat with our professionals, discuss like our business related topics, right? Of course, again, it imitates what we have in the real world, but makes it easier for people to actually access without the necessity to fly. And that also brings sustainability factor in place. Of course, some unnecessary meetings can be always done virtually. It also saves a lot of time because you don't need to commute. And as a business owner, I feel it like on a daily basis. If you go somewhere, you spend like an hour just commuting, and you couldn't do some other work that was important. And another thing that is very important to discuss, like when we talk about NFTs and Metaverse, is also an education. Because we live in a bubble, right? We all talk to each other. We all are in a space. We don't always feel like it's so easy to understand, right? Because we've been involved for so many years, and the majority of our people we talk to of our network are also in the field, or at least they know about NFTs, they know about crypto, about Metaverse. But there are still so many people outside of space, and I feel it's very, very hard for them sometimes to join because our information is so random. We don't really focus that much on generating enough content to bring people to the game. So I think it's also kind of important part of our space and how it will be evolving.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Josh, she was obviously talking about music and concerts. Your life's been in many ways contributed and informed by that. So maybe you could kind of view that from a metaverse perspective.
Sure. I see concerts in the metaverse as interesting, but the reality is that there's no replacement for the energy of live and other people around you and the interaction and the lights and the hair standing up on the back of your neck when everyone's screaming and they go on stage. And I mean, that just can't be replaced in the metaverse. And if you want to really drill it back a little bit, we're in the metaverse right now. And I could change my head to a tiger head, and instead of seeing my actual little TV den here, you'd see, I'm in some, other room, flowers spinning and monkeys flying around, and you could kind of go about that any way you want. So the way that I've really looked at it is, I have a 10-year-old son, and he's video game obsessed, as many kids are. And for years, he'd play Fortnite and buy skins and other things. And I could never really understand why these digital items he bought not only couldn't be resold, but couldn't even be given to his friends. Where he'd tell me, Dad, there's a leopard skin coming out tomorrow, and I have to own it. And could I spend $10? And I'd say, oh, sure. Okay, go for it. And then his friend comes over 2 weeks later. It's like, oh man, you have the leopard skin? How'd you get that? Oh, my dad let me buy it. And I don't, he doesn't even care about it anymore. His friend's dying for it. Not only could he not sell it to his friend, he can't even give it to his friend. So that's where it gets really interesting, is the NFTs around digital create ownership, create interoperability for trading, create, obviously provable scarcity and other things in our digital world. And we all live in these worlds. I think, what Eric was saying about video games is spot on. I think video games are going to be a major driver around NFTs this year, and frankly, just going forward forever, probably, because it's where people are entertained. It's where kids are already in the metaverse. We've been in the metaverse since video games came out. And now it's just going to get better because there's much more development going into it. The reality is that we've all known about this. We've all been participating in the metaverse, but until Facebook changed their name, no one paid attention. And suddenly, they changed their name. I haven't even seen a thing they've done, but that might be me just not looking. And now suddenly everyone's metaverse, crazy. But the video game space has been there forever. They just need to bring NFTs in. And if you look at some amazing companies out there like Forte and some of these others, they're actually bringing interoperable NFTs into the video game space. And that's really what the metaverse is all about. I think, you'll see other cool things happen. We're going to obviously, you're seeing retail move into the metaverse, but at the same time, all it's going to do is take the online shopping experience and make it better. It's really all it is. It's supposed to be going to Amazon and being like, oh, it's like a line listing of stuff. Now it'll become more real, where I'll put on some glasses and I'll walk into a store in the metaverse and I'll be able to go in there and see what things look like. And maybe Eric's in there trying on a cool sweatshirt next to me and we actually interact with each other, and that whole shopping experience becomes better. And that's where it's all headed. So it's just going to make our digital lives cooler, more efficient, better, add value around resale. So that's where I see the metaverse at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's right. We look at another kind of extension with our architecture and planning companies. We look at the metaverse in smart city context, and we believe that creating these mirrored environments have a great deal of power in terms of extending how to do planning and how smart cities are going to work. So it has both the internal entertainment and social aspects, but I think also long-term, it'll have a great deal of power in terms of development of smart cities. So we balance those two viewpoints. Eric, you want to add on where Josh was going with that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I see this as like just a continued emergence of the social layer of the internet. I mean, like I see it as an extension of Facebook, or what Facebook was trying to do at the very beginning. I think that we spend a lot, well, I know we spend a lot of times online, right? And all of the interactions that we make online are materially different than the type of interactions we make in the physical world, right? So we walk into a store, that's how we do it in the physical world, but on a, we type into a keyboard on the internet. And so I think it's just more of a merging of the way that we interact with each other and with ourselves and with the products that we buy in digital and physical ways, like more bringing it together. New Street, for example, like our company, I established our headquarters in the metaverse very early on, actually. I think it was maybe in March or April of this year. And I established it in particular in crypto voxels, which is one of the many different platforms that are out there. There's Decentraland, there's Sominum, there's Sandbox, there's so on and so forth. The reason why we chose crypto voxels, though, is because it doesn't have the greatest graphics by any sense of the word. I mean, it's very much voxel art or block art, so to speak. The reason why we chose crypto voxels is because we see it as a marketing channel right now. We could pop up in a virtual event at our headquarters in a matter of minutes. And what's important to us is that people can access that through all the different types of technologies that currently exist and that people currently use. And so, if you look at something like Decentraland or Sominum or some of the other things, they require a pretty thick client. In other words, a pretty robust computer. On crypto voxels, I can actually log in right now on my phone and join a concert or something like that. So, it's just so I think that, like, really what I'm trying to say is we're not quite there yet in terms of the technology and the tools that make this like a near term or an immediate reality. But we're definitely getting there.
Yeah, I think following on that comment and what Josh mentioned about already being in the metaverse is actually a key point. You kind of like a frog boiling in water. I mean, we've been kind of entering this thing for some time. All of our companies are international. They're outside of the US, and I haven't traveled for 2 years. And yet I daily deal with each of the companies through this format. I mean, it's literally in a sense, as Josh would say, I'm immersed in this digital space. It is my world. I physically haven't been to an office in 2 years to meet with anybody, but I meet with people like you every day. So we really are almost to a boil in some sense, and we'll see where that goes. Kind of taking this back to its original kind of discussion point about it being some kind of investment class, looking at NFTs, and maybe you could each give your take on that. And if you would have, we're not giving investment advice here, but if you were talking to people, what would you tell them? Elena, start with you.
I mean, if we're trying to understand if an asset is an investment class, so like there are two ways how we can approach it. There can be like a legal definition, right? What is investment class? And we can just kind of think through like a logic perspective and when like our taxation will be occurring. So every single object can be investment class and can be not investment class. So if we see like at the painting, right? We can have just like traditional painting, right? We can have some that are being sold for $20 and some street art, right? And you don't buy it because you feel that it's gonna grow in value. You buy it because you just like it. You want to hang it on your wall, right? You are not approaching it from investment perspective. Then we're talking about some paintings like Picasso, right? That have investment value and they're growing in value. So it's something that you, of course, want to purchase not only from a perspective to hang it on the wall because you like it. You're gonna buy it because you see it as an investment opportunity, or is there storing, like, is there opportunity to store your value? We also can approach NFTs from that perspective. We can have NFTs that people buying or selling because they want to speculate, they want to get some investment opportunities out of it. But some people also buying, like, and I already mentioned briefly, like Bored Apes, and I think Eric brought a very interesting point about the communities, right? So people not necessarily buying it, even like paying like $50,000 or more, not just because they want to resell it sometime in the future, or like seeing it as an investment opportunity. They see it as an access to a community. So they want to be part of a community where there are other celebrities, like-minded people, and like to have like to attend interesting events, right, and have a great conversations there. They want to be a part of that community, and of course here they're not approaching it as an investment opportunity. So yeah, talking about NFTs being an investment class, it will always depend. It can be an investment class, but it can be also just an opportunity to join community or have a digital collectibles, right? Even like tickets that we're making. Some of them can be resold in future, right? If it's some rare ticket for like a music festival for a famous artist with some special unlockable content added, of course, it can be an investment opportunity. And that's why we're also adding royalties there. So artists can still enjoy their commission from like all secondary market resales. But for some people, it might be like a ticket for like a birthday party of their friend. It's not investment asset. It's something so precious and valuable for them, right? So we're talking about value and investment. It always will depend like on a specific case.
Yeah. Josh, your take on this? Yeah, thanks.
So I think it's super early days. And I think, Eric, collecting NFTs, knowing what he's doing around the art, you have that collector base. And as an investment where, you could buy the NFT art and know who to buy and know when to sell, and it becomes an investment. There are certain things that, that might be long holds that, you'll hold as a investment class. But I think the interesting side of, investable NFTs hasn't really begun yet. I think where we're going to see that is around the tokenization of hard assets, whether it be real estate, whether it be securities, it could be experiences, it could be all types of things where, this technology allows for you to basically, tokenize various assets and go sell them to investors, and then it becomes very investable. There's a lot of securities regulations that need to be worked out still around how that looks, and the regulators need to really catch up with technology, which might take a little while. But you have things like DAOs, you have things like as I mentioned, tokenization of hard assets, of digital assets, and various ways to create new ownership, where if you look at the most basic model of a timeshare, where you take a vacation property and you sell it to 50 people that each get a week a year, and they all contribute and they own it. And then eventually maybe it appreciates in value, as real estate does. And that person could then maybe go sell their timeshare if they don't want to use it, or rent it out to someone else and make it income producing. With NFTs, that becomes a lot more doable, where these things that were super manual before become digital, become very tradable, and actually become liquid, where, having a share in a building, for example, where I've seen some early use cases. I was even involved in one where there was a building, a piece of real estate, where a certain percentage of it went into tokenization and people own that building. Now, if I ever bought traditional real estate as a partner within an LLC or any type of investment group, I'd have to wait for the group to liquidate. Yes. Now I can take my shares and I can go sell them, so it becomes very investable. And then you have the whole DAO element, which is a whole nother, we could spend more hours on that, where that really opens up the ability not only for you to own a share of something, but also to have governance over it and decision-making capabilities. So it unlocks a lot. And I really believe the investability around NFTs is just getting started. It hasn't really even scratched the surface yet.
Excellent. Well, Eric, since you're into this deep, go for it.
Yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree with what largely both Elena and Josh are saying. I mean, I guess just talking about this differently, like I think NFTs are similar to the way people were talking about e-commerce around the turn of the century, right? I mean, it's not what the company does, it's how the company does it. And so the fact of the matter is that it's just, I don't think that, like, from my index and classifications background at Bloomberg, where I was doing hyper granular things about risk and portfolio attribution, like, it's definitely not an asset class per se, but it is absolutely a very important catalyst or driver for future businesses to make money off of. When I agree also with Josh when he says that, we're early. I think what I would caution people is we're not that early when it comes to like NFT art and like collectability and PFPs. Like, I don't think people are going to get like continually, like, you're not going to be able to stumble on the new Bored Ape Yacht Club, like, ass backwards anymore. It's just not the landscape we're in right now. So I think that I would caution people just diving into this with a lot of money, because, if you start, like, as an investor, I also pay a lot of an investor across physical and digital things. I look at the interplay between the value of digital and physical things that sort of should be relatively similar. And right now, I think I'm seeing that natively digital things are overvalued relative to their physical counterparts. And so for me, I'm personally, as an investor collector, looking at taking some of this money that I have in this NFT collectible space and potentially putting it into things more in the physical world, that are truly scarce as well. So it's definitely an investable area. And there's definitely money to be made. I just think that, you've got to be careful going forward, because I think, as Josh mentioned, he's right as well, in that we haven't even seen the true investability of this industry yet.
Other than in investing in your own companies, if you had $1 million to spare today, what NFT project or concept would you put it in? So, Elena, do you have one? And again, not investment advice, just a general category.
Yeah, I would try not to name like any specific project, so we don't have like an investment advice over here. but I definitely looking into Metaverse and land over there, because it's not only like something that you want to just enjoy, like to throw like events, but it's also like a massive marketing opportunity, like for projects that I'm building. And again, it's like my consulting company has employees from 15 countries, and we're always trying to find a way for like to together and like do some team building, right? And it's always like some Zoom meeting that is of course not exactly the same. So Metaverse of course would be like a very good place to have some gatherings with people from so many countries. And yeah, so I would say that I would look into land a bit more.
Yeah, excellent. Josh, how about you?
So,
One of your extra millions?
I call Eric up and I say, "Oh, Eric, what should I buy?" Maybe half, and then the other half, I'm actually, pretty focused right now on infrastructure, plumbing, and really understanding, what is going to be, this world is still being built. It's just starting, I mean, Ethereum 2.0 hasn't even come out yet. And, we're sitting on these layer twos now that we're operating on. Interoperability is still going on through bridges. So, I mean, there's a lot of way to go here. And where, I would focus with that would be on what are the infrastructure plays? What is the plumbing of this entire Web3 universe? Because those are the companies, those are the protocols that are going to see massive growth opportunities down the road as mainstream adoption really starts to really set in this year and onward.
Yep, excellent. Eric?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you guys. I mean, so when it comes to like, if I were to give like I'm not going to give an answer to a specific project. I can't do that. But I will say a sector in the existing, like as we know today, like NFT world, I'd say play to earn, just like I mentioned in the earlier part. But I think that Josh is again right on. The picks and shovels, is essentially where I'm looking at it as an investor in my venture hat and otherwise. I think that back to the physical world and people that are using NFT technology and companies that are using NFT technology to really enable things that are of true value and use in the physical world. I think that's where I'm going to be looking at putting my hard-earned investment dollars in 2022. Obviously, I'm still going to be collecting NFTs, and truly purely digital native stuff as well. But I think that play to earn and the picks and shovels that enable NFT technology to be better used in the physical world are two areas that I'm absolutely most interested in personally.
It's interesting when you think about the historical parallels between the gold rush and this. The people who made the money in the gold rush were the picks and shovels, Levi's, all of those. Randolph Hearst built his, publishing empire on his father's picks and shovels and gold rush. But in all of this, we've covered most of the main topics. You want to take one round? Any other comments you'd like to share with people about NFTs and the metaverse before we close this? Elena?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I would agree with everyone in the perspectives that we're very early for the moment, and of course I would recommend people to start exploring, and there's still so many opportunities and space in this virtual world, right, and in the NFT in general. So I would just recommend people to start exploring if they're still not in the game, because we're still building better business opportunities, more transparency, and it would be great to have more people joining us.
Excellent. Josh?
I just want to say to everyone out there to be careful that, there's a lot of money that's come into the space in the last, less than a year. And there's a lot of hype around various projects that have, frankly, no technology in many cases, because there's a lot of fraudsters out there that have taken advantage of an asset class. And I wouldn't even call it an asset class, I just call it a sector that's exploded last year and had tons of hype and took over Twitter in a big way. And I just would encourage anyone wanting to get involved in this to do it, you know, in a smart, slow manner, be super cautious. Don't believe the hype, and, you know, just kind of do your homework.
Excellent. Eric?
Completely agree again. I would say get a hardware wallet if you're going to have any amount of money sitting in cryptocurrency, NFTs, or otherwise.
Oh.
If not, you're an idiot, frankly. But yeah, just recognize the differences between investing and gambling, and do your research. Do your research. Make sure that you're looking into the teams that are behind these, that the people that are supporting them are legitimate, that they, you know, there is a lot of money to be made in this industry. And in any industry that there's a lot of money to be made, there's also a lot of room for bad actors. So realize that there's a lot of bad actors, that there's a lot of money to be made, and that you have to be smart if you're going to venture into this. And again, please use a hardware wallet.
Well, I want to thank all three of you. You certainly added a great deal, I'm sure, to the audience's understanding. For those of you listening, Eric's company is New Street, N-E-U Street. And so I'm sure he would be interested in any contact. Elena has FinTech Advisory Services and Flashback, which is a ticketing company. And Josh is the founder of Yellow Heart, which is, I believe, one word. And so hopefully all of you have enjoyed being here today. And for the viewers, all of this will be, you guys will be given access to the full conference, and then you can use it any way that you want for your own uses, and it'll be on a conference website and YouTube and, you know, other purposes. So nice meeting all of you, and you guys have a great day. Enjoy the holiday. Okay, take care.
Thank you.
everyone.
Yep.
You guys as
Bye-bye.
well. Thanks for having me.